What's up, everyone? This is the Hidden Doors Podcast, a podcast geared towards everything self-development, from books, topics, and we'll talk to interesting people. My name is Kristen Fanzon. I'm an advertising professional in New York City. I'm the author of The Hidden Doors to Success, and my whole goal in life is to have a positive influence on 10,000 people. Hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with my channel. What's up, everyone? Second podcast we've ever done here at the Hidden Doors Podcast. For today, I'll be talking about one of the chapters in my book. The book's called The Hidden Doors to Success, and we'll be talking about chapter 8. Chapter 8 talks about how to communicate powerfully. And look, there's a reason every single employer in the entire world, if you go on an interview, they're going to ask and look and critique your communicating skills. And it goes beyond the ability to talk. It covers everything, from how well you listen to how you can present your ideas. Yes, but how do your perception, and it's not just talking. It's everything, every little thing that someone can read from you. And take in from their perception of you is communicating. How do you dress? How do you listen? How do you respond to a certain question? Everything you do has some kind of component of communicating, and it is such a underlooked thing. And maybe it's not, because I guess every employer values it, right? So maybe it's not underlooked. But I guess when I say underlooked, I mean for people who are trying to be competitive in the job market, for people who want to improve themselves, I guess one area where it might be overlooked is the communication side. And you might think that, it's just presenting and presenting your ideas and talking to people. And it's not just that, but it obviously has some kind of component of that. So it's that as well. And so because it's such an important thing, it's something that for me, I think that I struggled with it when I was younger. And I still, to this day, I write this in my book, still to this day, try to improve this. In every facet of what I do, I know that communication plays a role. So I always try to improve this. So I think it's super important. I was not good at it when I was younger. I read a ton of books to try to sink my teeth in this and see if there was anything I was missing. There was a ton. And I devoted one of the chapters to communicating powerfully. My book is not overly long. It's about 200 pages long. And so I dedicated one chapter out of those 200 pages to communicating powerfully. And I cover 4 overarching crucial topics that I think are overlooked, or that I just think that are the most important when it comes to communicating. So I say that because there's more to it than that, but I wanted to cover the most important pieces that I think are valuable. So today I'll be covering a little bit in my book about chapter 8, communicating powerfully, and and knowing that, look, I think there's more to it. Like I said, there's more to it, but these are the most important pieces. So I would love people's thoughts, comments, feedback on what you think is the most effective, what you've learned along the way, because I can learn from you too, and I will be writing future editions of this book. I already have some ideas of what I want to add. I think I think sales for me is a component, or a skill that I learned recently, have not perfected at all in any sense, but have learned, and I think is crucial also in development of someone's life, professionally and personally. So I'm going to add that, and I have a lot of things I want to add. So I always welcome feedback, and so please comment, email me, tell me what you think. So on communicating effectively, what do we got here? So there's four overarching things I want to talk about here. One is presenting. I told you that it's not all about presenting, but in my book, communicating effectively is under the second section, which is being a strong leader, or leader, understanding your leadership qualities and developing them. And communicating is under that. And to be a good leader, you got to present your ideas. And so presenting is one of them. And what do we got? The second piece is be like a president trying to get reelected. And I promise you I will explain that. The metaphor makes sense. And it doesn't matter what damn president you ever voted for, this is not political, but it's just that presidents do one really good thing when it comes to getting reelected. I think we should all learn from. The third is be like a customer service rep. Again, another thing I'll explain. And fourth is your perception is your reality. And I'll get into that, but so those are the four crucial aspects in my book of communicating effectively. So presenting, like I said, as you become a leader, as you manage more people, or you have to sell something, or it's just as you grow in your life, you'll have to present more ideas. And that's it's a skill. It's not a natural skill. I should be the best person to say that, because I was horrible, and I'm not great. I've improved a tremendous amount in the last 5 years. But so it didn't come natural to me. I don't expect it to come natural to 99% of the people. Maybe there are a few people where it comes natural. Most people, it doesn't. And so the first piece is just understanding that. A lot of people, I think it's like, I don't know the statistic, but more people are like willing to like put themselves in life-threatening positions over presenting because it's so scary. And that was my feeling to a certain extent when I was younger. It was a scary ass experience, and the more you know that it's not natural and it's a learned skill, the better you'll be able to face it. I thought it was natural when I was younger, and I was like, I'm horrible at this. I don't want to be in this position. It's nerve-wracking just thinking about it. And then I studied it. I read a few books that I think probably in another podcast are worth going over just by themselves, by Jerry Weissman. He has a few books about presenting. One, I think, is A Power Presenter. There's 3 books that I read, and it gave me a pathway to, one, build confidence in myself when I was speaking, and 2, know the tools that are needed to be an effective presenter. So I guess let's switch them around. I got the tools I knew to be an effective presenter, which gained me more confidence when I was presenting. And so we'll probably have a different podcast on that, but so know that when you're going into it, presenting, when I heard presenting when I was younger, it's one of those words that like get you nervous just thinking about. So I get that, but you will get better at it if you know the science behind it. And so at the end of my book, I have a bonus curriculum, and I have a bonus curriculum that breaks out all of the core competencies that I think are important to live a successful life. And out of the 90 plus books that I read over the last 7 years, I break all those books up into the core competencies. So if you want to learn sales, here it is: goal setting, presenting, communicating effectively, etc., investing, whatever it is. So I take the most influential books and I break them up. So a few of those books are the Jerry Weissman books that I read on presenting. If you have a copy of the book, then you'll see it at the end, right before the acknowledgments, right after the conclusion. There's the bonus curriculum, and you'll see those books that'll give you, in much more detail, how to present very effectively, with 3 books dedicated to it. This is one chapter, so I highly recommend that you read those books. Let's say this is a primer. This is a primer, but if you want to read more into it, I highly recommend reading those books. So, presenting. There's a few rules here in presenting that I'm going to talk about. One is don't kidnap your audience. And each one of these rules and principles I'm about to explain are each one going to incrementally calm your nerves when you're about to present. So at the end of it, when you have all these tools, you might be a tiny bit nervous. It's not going to be something that's gonna. Your nerves won't be high enough where you're gonna like feel like you want to run out of the damn room, but you'll have a little bit of nerves, and it'll be gone. They'll be gone in maybe less than 2 minutes. As long as you have the tools you need, you'll be fine. So don't kidnap your audience. And my metaphor in my book is like, imagine if you were in a car ride for an hour or 2 hours and no one told you where you're going, and you just were stuck in the car for 2 hours. You'd be like, where the hell am I going right now? And you'd get a little apprehensive. You'd want to know where you're going, and you'd be a little antsy. I would. I'd be annoyed. And so the first rule is don't kidnap your audience. Before you present any kind of information, you need to prime it up. You need to give them context. You need to tell them where they're going and why they're going. And the best thing about this is it calms the nerves of people. So instead of getting in a car and going for a 1 to 2 hour drive and no one telling you where the hell you're going, they tell you that you're going to a concert or wherever you're going, and you feel a little better. You're like, okay, the 1 to 2 hour drive doesn't seem so bad now. We're going to the park, we're going to the concert, we're going to a baseball game, I don't know, wherever you go. So tell your audience where you're going and why you're going. So if you're presenting information to them, here is what I'll be talking about. Here's why I'm talking about it with you. And instantly people's nerves should calm down. Now they know what journey they're going on with you. And when you have an agenda, it's nice. I mean, these are pretty common things when you're presenting, but an agenda, and it gives you a little roadmap of how long and where each checkpoint of the presentation will be. So, section 1, we'll talk about, I don't know, I'll just use my book for example. Section 1 is goals. Section 2 is leadership. Section 3 is staying mentally focused. And so now they know the path. They know, okay, well, when we get to section 1, we have 2 sections left. They have an idea of where they're going. Much easier from someone taking in a presentation to understand this and be calm. And you need people to be calm. If they're confused or if they're apprehensive in any kind of way, that energy is gonna feed off to you. And if you're already a tiny bit nervous and people all in the room have confused looking faces and they're all like, where are we going? I'm confused. It's gonna rub off on you. And that's not good. You don't wanna absorb that kind of energy. It's not the energy that's gonna put you in a position to be confident and to present well. So first thing is, don't kidnap your audience. Second rule is the 2-second rule. So, this happens a lot, and in the book I use PowerPoint slides as an example, because I think most things that we're presenting in this world is using PowerPoint slides. But the general rule of thumb is within 2 seconds of showing a slide, but it doesn't have to be a slide, it could be a concept, it could be an idea, but let's just use a slide because most people use slides. Within 2 seconds, someone looking at it should have a general concept of what you're saying. And so I've seen people try to stack so much information in a slide that like you need like a few chapters to explain it to someone. And so someone's looking at the slide in their head, they're like, oh, what's going on here? They're confused. They give you a little confused look. They're not understanding what you're talking about, and they can't follow you now when you're trying to explain it. And I guess one is, like I said, you don't want confused faces. Confused faces give you bad energy. You will get nervous. Avoid confused faces. You want head nods. You want, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That gives you more confidence. You don't want, what? So you want to avoid that. And how you avoid that is you don't give very confusing content to people. And I say this, and I give a couple examples in the book, but don't get confused with this. There's some content you can't explain in 2 seconds. And so I'm not saying someone needs to understand quantum mechanics in 2 seconds. We all know that's ridiculous. I don't think you can understand any information in 2 seconds, but you need to prime them, and they need to just generally understand the idea in 2 seconds. And that's easy to do with 2 things, I think. One is a title that captures everything that you're trying to say very quickly, maybe under 5 words. And so an example I have in my book is like, blue shoes increased 20% year over year. Okay, so that's the title of the slide in the example I have in my book. Okay, so like, it's pretty simple to understand. Something has increased year over year, and that sells. That seems like a good thing. And I have a chart. The second thing I was saying, first thing is title. The second thing is a visualization. So a visualization to complement the title. And it's a bar chart. And what I say is, I don't really fully understand the science behind it, but what I've studied is that the human eye likes to look at charts that go, as they go left from right, they get higher. It's just nice to look at charts like that. And so I have blue shoes increase 20%, and then 2 bar charts from 2019 to 2020. It's a complete example of this is not, I'm not selling blue shoes. And it goes up. So someone looking at this says, okay, very simple to understand that blue shoes have increased. The chart goes up. I feel happy. I understand what you're trying to say. Now you can explain how the hell you did it. But even then, in the example I have, there's 3 bullets, very simple bullets with no more than four words each bullet. And so you don't want to make everything simple and then, write 3 paragraphs of how you did it. Keep it super simple. So the other concept here in the 2-second rule is the human eye needs to be able to look from left to right on your PowerPoint slide. We're using a PowerPoint slide as an example. Left to right with one swipe, one full swoop, go left to right and understand what you're saying. So if someone were to look at this example, they'd see blue shoes increase 20% year over year. They look left to right. They see the chart going up like, wow, okay, I get the point. How'd you do it? If your content is so confusing that they have to look left to right, up, down, back to the left, right, up, circles, it's too confusing. You've confused them. They'll have confusing faces. They won't get the point. You'll have to re-explain it a few times. You'll lose them, and you'll get more nervous while you're doing it. So make it so simple that it's a one full swoop, left to right. One full swoop, left to right, very crisp, clear title, and with a bar chart or some kind of visualization that complements what you're trying to say. Super simple. Here, can you see this? So very simple example. So that is the second point of presenting, all right? So we have don't kidnap your audience. We have the 2-second rule. And now we have be yourself. No, sorry. We have don't wing it. Next is be yourself. We have don't wing it. I've tried this before, and it's why everyone who knows how to present, or if you have teachers that say, here's what you need to do, everyone says practice. I mean, it's a little bit of common sense here, but in a certain sense it's not, because I've tried it and I thought I was going to do good and I bombed completely. I remember I had a communications class and we had to give a few presentations. I gave one, I practiced the hell out of it, did okay. Next one I was like, well, I did okay. Like I don't think that I need to practice, and I didn't, and I was stumbling on my words. I didn't know what I was saying. It got me more nervous. I saw confusing frowns in the class, and it's something to this day. I had a couple friends in that class, and still to this day we laugh about. But I tried to wing it. It doesn't work. Don't do it. That was a low stakes presentation I did. It was at school. You're gonna have presentations you have to give at work to clients. To your team, to the company, to your boss. Just don't wing it. It doesn't make sense to. There's no really effective presenter that has never reviewed their content, practice it out loud. There aren't. They practice. So if you see like people who host the Oscars or the Emmys, you think that that's their first time coming up there and hosting and presenting the words they're saying? It's not a chance. There's a lot of stuff on the line for the reputation, for their brand. So you better believe they're practicing multiple times, probably over 50. So don't wing it. There's a couple things that I do. One is, One is that you need to practice in front of people. And if you can't practice in front of people, I actually I will use Google Images to search for an audience. So I search for an audience on Google Images, and I just practice in front of them as if I was giving a live speech, because when you're practicing a presentation, you need to look at faces. It prepares you for when you're about to do the real thing. If you practice in front of a mirror, it will not be the same thing. I've tried it and I've bombed horribly. It's not the same thing at all. So I remember in college, this is a different class. I practiced presentation in front of the mirror, and I did so horrible. It was embarrassing. And then and then next time I was like, this is not going to happen again. So I practiced for my parents, and completely different outcome. When I practiced in front of my parents, first couple times a little nervous, and I didn't know exactly what I was going to say. Still young, so I'm still understanding how to present information, and I wasn't exactly an expert in what I was saying, but it got me prepared. So then when I actually delivered it in front of live faces, I already had my talk track down. I already felt more comfortable speaking in front of people about what I was saying. When you talk in front of live people as a practice, you get to see where you need to think a little more about how you're saying something. If you're saying something extremely confusing, to yourself it might make perfect sense, but to someone else looking at you, it might not. And if you were doing that in front of a mirror, you would have no idea. But if you did that in front of someone you knew, or whoever it is, parents in my case, you'll know right off the bat. They'll look at you like, well, what did you just say? And immediately that'll give you a hint, like, okay, I need to be better at explaining this, or I need a different way of approaching this topic. So if I want I've given my fair share of practice presentations to my wife so many times, so many freaking times, it's crazy. When I had to give my best man speech for my older brother, I must have practiced in front of my wife like 50 times. It was getting a little absurd. And I give her many work presentations. So if I can't do it in front of a live person, I will do it in front of Google image faces. And I look for images that have people already with confused faces. And I do it because I want to practice, I want to almost to make it seem as real as it can be. And almost worst case scenario, if I have to go in there and people give me some strange faces, I have to deal with that. And the more prepared you are for that mentally, the easier it'll be. So those are two things. You need to just practice it over. Be much easier. So do not wing it. Next is be yourself. So I found when I was giving presentations, especially at work, I was trying to be someone I wasn't. I was trying to be overly professional, and it didn't make me feel comfortable. I'd get all stiff, try to be overly confident, and it backfired completely. I didn't feel myself. I felt like a shell of something else. I don't know. It just didn't feel natural for me. And when it doesn't come off natural, doesn't feel natural, it's one of those extra things that will make you feel a little more nervous. And so I say here, it's just be yourself. If you are a human being that likes to tell jokes every once in a while, then maybe tell a joke when you're giving a presentation. If you're all serious a lot, maybe be all serious when you're presenting. Just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. And so, and last piece of that is, again, those are four things that I just said that will help you calm the nerves. So let's go over them. Don't kidnap your audience, okay? Tell them where they're going before you take them there. Do the 2-second rule. So within 2 seconds, if someone's moving their eyes left to right, they need to understand the general concept of where you're going, and then you can explain in more detail what you're talking about. Third concept is don't wing it. Practice your presentation in front of faces. Better if it's live faces. If you can't do live faces, do images or something and practice multiple times. Fourth concept is be yourself. Those 4 things will calm your nerves. I think, for me at least, it did like 80% at least. And if you hear any anyone who does presentations professionally, you'll know they'll tell you they get a tiny bit of nerves after they're all prepped and they feel good. They still get a tiny bit of nerves, and then after I think it's usually like 2 minutes, it's gone. But it's different when you're doing those 4 things I talked about. The nerves won't make you want to like run out the room. So it's a different nervous. It's like because I know exactly what some people feel when they're like super nervous, but before they're about to present, I've been in their shoes multiple times when I was younger. If I could have somehow, I would have ran out the damn room. I understand it. It's like the scariest thing in the world. Then I studied a little more, practiced, honed it. These are 4 concepts. I hope you read more about it, because there are more. But I'd say that takes about 80 to 90% of your nerves away, if not more. And then it's a little bump. It's like when I say bump, like the nerve, it's like a little bit of instead of like like I need to get the hell out of here type of nervous. It's like, all right, I feel a little bit of butterflies, but I should be fine explaining this, and once I get into the rhythm, within about a minute or 2, I'll be fine. So that's the key to get an effective presentation by. There's more, but that will make it much more effective if you're not doing that already. So that, like I said, that's under communicating effectively. That's presenting. That's one. Second thing is be like a president trying to get reelected. So what I mean by that is, I don't care. Every president who's got reelected is really good at one thing. You can argue all the other stuff. I don't really care about that. But the one thing they're really good at, it's being reelected, and that means, so there's 2 things, right? It's president who's good at being elected, and then they're good at being reelected. To be elected are a lot of the things that I've spoken about before. In my earlier podcast, my first one, when I talk about goal setting. So to be elected, you need to be a leader who set goals, who has a vision. You need to come to the table and present to the country and say, look, jobs are horrible. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to bring the unemployment rate down to whatever percent, I guess, is low at that time period. So you need vision, and you need to have a bold vision and a plan to get there to get elected. But then you've been in office for 4 years, and now you need to show results. Now you need to say, look, we've done all this work, and here is what we did. So when I say they're really good at getting reelected, if you watch any political speech, presidents, I mean, it's maybe not the presidents themselves, but at least their staff and their team, they're really good at capturing the performance results of what they've done in the past. And so, typical sales pitch of a president trying to get reelected. We reduced unemployment by blank percent. There are more jobs than ever. The GDP is 40% higher than last when I took office, etc. You get the point. The reason why I think this is important is because I see too many people who are doing such a freaking good job, and they're not good at they're not good at summarizing what they did and then capturing the results of what they did. A common thing is like in a resume, when I see a lot of people who say what they did at a past job, like what they've done. I worked with this person. I assisted with this. I coordinated with blank. And those are all okay things, maybe to say in a resume one, but it can't be the whole thing. You have to say what you've accomplished. Because I've done this, I improved our process time by 10%. Because I created a new process, our sales increased 50% year over year. So there's two things, and I talk about this goal setting about inputs and outputs. It's similar, right? It's your inputs to the job is like, what do you do? But then the outputs are, what did you, what results were there because of those inputs? And you need to be really good at that, especially as you grow and you want to become a leader. And this is communicating effectively. You can't do an amazing job. Let's say it this way: you can do an amazing job, and no one will know if you don't be like a president trying to get reelected and showcase your results and say, "Hey, look, boss," or "Look, company," or "Look, client. We've built out a new QA process. We've introduced a simpler software platform, and we've trained our employees." And if you stop there, then no one cares. Maybe someone slightly cares, but no one really cares, because you're not saying what that has done. So you've done all those three things, and then you miss the ending. So in basketball, they call it following through. When I was younger, I was never really amazing at basketball, but when I was younger and I played basketball, the coach would always say, "You can do all these things. You square to the basket, bend your knees a little bit, tuck your elbow in, and you shoot the ball, but you have to follow through." Follow through is just at the very end. You like flip the wrist. You flip the wrist, and that's a follow through. It's at the very end. Similar to what I'm saying here. You can tell a client, we've made a new process. We have bought a new software. We've done this. Don't forget to follow through. You got to show the results. And if you have good results, we've improved it by 20%. We have more revenue. We can take more capacity. We have more capacity to take on more work for you at the same cost, whatever it is. But you need a result there. And the reason it's important is no one will know what the great work that you've done if you can't showcase it like this. So be like a president getting reelected. And your perception, people's perception of you will change. It's funny, you could have two people doing the same exact job, same exact effort, same outcome. If one person isn't good at showcasing it, and one person is, one person will get credit and one person won't, because no one will know what the hell you did. So, and if you are new to working, this is especially helpful. If not, I think it's also helpful. Your boss doesn't, your boss, like, they're not just like a hawk knowing every little move you make and everything you do. You need, and that's just not your boss, it's everyone. So just because you think that you've done all these things and it should be obvious, everyone should obviously know that it has improved It has improved sales by this percent. It's done something. You've had great results. It should be obvious. Your boss should have recognized it. Sometimes they don't. I manage people. I don't know every little thing that they do. So you see, people need to be presented to with information. So you need to showcase your results. Otherwise, no one will know what you did. No one knows what you did. You don't get credit. You don't get credit. You don't get promoted. You don't get you don't win business, etc., etc. So be good at this, or don't at your own risk to your whole advancement in your life. But so that's be like a president trying to get reelected. The next piece of communicating effectively is be like a customer service rep. So, what I mean by this is I see this a lot at work in particular. And what I think if a company takes pride in their customer service, when you fill out a form or when you call someone or when you email or text or some kind of message to their company, for the most part, you should understand within 24 hours a response from that company and when they'll get back to you. And not only when they'll get back to you, but maybe an idea of what they could get back to you on. And when you don't have that, it irritates the hell out of you probably. Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you an example, like Venmo. Venmo, if you're not familiar with Venmo, they do like peer-to-peer payment services through a mobile app. Something happened with my bank account. I've switched it and I changed it and I've tried to resync it with Venmo. It's not working. And I don't get it. Their customer service reps are horrible. It's been I think a month or two and they still haven't got back to me on the progress of what's going on there. I've asked them to look into it. They have. And I'm very irritated right now of their brand and the whole perception of them. I love Elon Musk, and Elon Musk, I think, is still part owner of PayPal, and PayPal owns Venmo, and so I have a soft spot for that. But their customer service is horrible, and that could be because of COVID and times have reduced staff or whatever, but that's not the point. The point is not to diminish them as a company, because they could have really good customer service reps. It could just be one example. What I'm getting to is when you have a company that prides themselves on that, you should know relatively quickly a customer service rep is going to get back to you when. And so when I say be like a good customer service rep, I think my baby's crying upstairs. When I say my wife has her. I'm not neglecting my baby, by the way. When I say be like a good customer service rep, I see this a lot at work when they get either from a client or an internal team, they get an email or something. They say, "Hey, can you look into this?" And no one responds. No one on the team will respond to the email, and just in their heads they're like, "Yeah, we'll look into it. And maybe we'll get it to it next week or something." But how is the person who sent that note supposed to know? So it's one example of an email. When I say that, I say when someone says something to you, reply back, confirm that you've seen it, and give them an estimated time of when you'll respond, or when you think you'll be able to take care of the request that they have. And if you're wrong, okay, whatever. A lot of times if I don't really understand when I can get back to someone, I at least say like, I'll give you an update. So, hey, saw your note, confirming receipt. I'll get back to you by the end of the week with updates. And that's a perfectly acceptable response. But if you just don't respond and you that's baby Margot crying upstairs. My wife's with her. I don't know if you can hear her through the mic. Where am I? What I'm getting to is, when you don't do those things, you're not being reliable to whoever is reaching out to you. And if it's your client, that's a really horrible thing. But if it's internal teams, you guys need to be able to work together effectively. And for them, they need to know, have you seen the request? When are you going to get back to them? If you don't do those simple little things, you have a huge breakdown of communication, major breakdown. And if you've ever worked at a company or any kind of project you've worked on, you know that there's many stakeholders. When you have many stakeholders and not everyone is in sync, if not everyone's in sync, then you have a huge breakdown of communication. So I say be like a customer service rep in your communication. Let's get on to last piece. Last piece is your perception is your reality. And this is a shorter one, but what I'm getting to is that communication is not just speaking. It's not just you opening your mouth, it's everything. Every signal that you're sending to someone else that they can perceive you. Your perception can be impacted by someone else. But it could be any sense, it could be how they interpret you as a person, how they understand you, if they understand that you're listening or not. Everything that you do, and everything that affects your perception is communication. So true leaders understand that. True leaders, you don't have to go crazy with every little minute detail, but for the most part, you need to understand that communicating is more than just talking. You got to listen well. Do you dress for the role? Do you, do you get to work early? Do you do all these things so that your perception is that you're a hardworking, dedicated person who will, be ambitious and effective at your job or your personal life? So every little thing that you need, everything that you do, is communicating. And so you don't, like I said, you don't have to go crazy with this, but just understand that. Some people just overlook it, like communicating. Okay, I need to talk well. It's not just talking well. It's everything. So my one of my old bosses would always say this: your perception is your reality. Even if it's really not your reality, if someone perceives it as your reality, to them it's your reality, and then it's your freaking reality. So it's your job to make your perception your reality. And your perception is at stake, your brand is at stake. So those are the four things. One is presenting, and that means don't kidnap your audience. Use the 2-second rule. Don't wing it. Be yourself. That's presenting. Then be like a president trying to get reelected. 3, be a customer service rep. Be like a customer service rep. 4, your perception is your reality. Those are the 4 things on communication that I think will step you up when it comes to communicating effectively, and I think everyone should be doing. So if you want to read more about this, I highly recommend you get the book. It's The Hidden Doors to Success, the book that I wrote. Chapter 8 is communicating effectively, but 1, you'll learn more than just communicating effectively, but then 2, again, on the back of the bonus curriculum, you'll have more books that I recommend that you can learn more about, study more into. So those are the 4 things. Take your communication to the next level. It'll help you with every aspect of your life, personally, professionally, and don't take that for granted, because it's one of those key things that everyone looks for, because it will help you accelerate to be more successful, whether that's a team project or just personally. So we'll end off there. Communicate more effectively, do those things. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and hope everyone has a good rest of their day or night or whenever you listen to this. Take care. So here we go. We got Baby Margot. Baby Margot. Tell everyone what you were trying to say upstairs. You had a lot to say. You were trying to speak. You said, I can communicate effectively. I can talk to. Where we're going to communicate. Right? You said this? Tell the people what you want to say. Say, look, I can communicate.